Hey you guys, it's your girl Santina and I'm back with another video. So today's video is going to be about my review on the I Want to Dance with Somebody movie, the Whitney Houston movie. As you can see, I have on my Whitney Houston shirt. Yay! So my best friend, she treated me out to go see the movie. And we had such a good time. I just got home from going to see the movie and I couldn't wait to give you guys a review. So the movie was pretty good. I really enjoyed it. It didn't show too much of, like Whitney's personal life, like her the background, like, or maybe I should say some of the, I guess, juicy stuff that some people probably would have wanted to see or know a little bit more about. I don't know. But pretty much they tried to keep it on the music aspect, and, everything was from her point of view. And, they just showed a little bit of this and a little bit of that. They showed a little bit of her and Bobby's relationship and a little bit of her and her parents' relationship, and they showed some of her and Robin's relationship and things like that, but they didn't really go into too much detail about personal aspects of her life. They pretty much more so kept it focused on the music, like they would show her how she came across the song and ended up deciding to sing the song or not sing the song. Then later on she ended up singing the song, things like that. Her music relationship with Clive Davis, of course he was going to be a very big part of the movie because but yeah, it didn't go too deep into like personal details. Like I said, they just show a little bit of this outside of the music and a little bit of that outside of the music. So I thought that was pretty good because they didn't really go into too much of the things that kind of made her, in a sense, to a lot of people look bad or look like she was losing her way. I mean, they did show that part of her, some of her downfall, but they didn't go too deep into it. Like, they didn't dwell on it. They just showed, okay, it looks like she's in a part of the movie, it looked like, okay, yeah, she's starting to this is like the downfall of her career, but they didn't stay there. They didn't dwell on it or focus on it. Or you might see, okay, well, this is where her and Bobby were having trouble or having problems, but they didn't stay on it. They just, you might see one or two little parts of where they had their downs, you know what I'm saying, and then they moved on to the next part. So I'm really glad that they didn't dwell on too much of, the bad things that people had to say about her, or they didn't dwell on her downfalls too bad or anything like that. It was more so like, hey, we're just going to show you, this is Whitney Houston. This was her life. And like I said, it wasn't too much. So I think it was pretty good, especially for some of the people who did not know Whitney Houston, and they got to see a little bit of how she was as a singer. You know what I'm saying? How she did movies, she sang, you know what I'm saying? Her mom, they showed how her mom was training her in the beginning before she really stepped into who Whitney Houston was in herself. You know what I'm saying? So I liked it. It was really good. I would definitely watch it again. And I'm so glad and thankful. Shout out to my bestie, Tamika, because she is a diehard Whitney Houston fan. We are both diehard Whitney Houston fans. And she is like my favorite singer of all time. So me and Tamika, we keep up on everything. Whatever Whitney had going on when she was alive, we kept up on it. We saw every movie. We saw, we knew every song. We knew all the albums, everything. We knew everything, especially musically, about Whitney Houston. Now, she's actually like an entertainment person that likes to do stuff behind the music and behind different artists and things like that. So she knows a lot more about, you know, all the dates and times and all of this stuff with Whitney, whereas me, I'm more so like, hey, I love this song, I can sing this song word for word, note for note by heart. You know, I know when this song came out, but she's more so of that, oh yeah, remember she had this interview on such and such date in 1990 such and such. And I may remember the interview, but I might not remember the date and the month that it was, but she keeps up on all of those things because of the type of job that she's into. So it's pretty cool. So we just put our little stuff together and have our own little memories. But I'm so thankful that she took me to the movie. It was awesome. I loved it. Michael went with us. He got to get some time out and hang with his mom and his aunt. So that was pretty cool. And so I did want to give a little background about my encounter with Whitney Houston. Yes, I did meet Whitney Houston before, and it was the most unforgettable experience that I will ever have. Like, okay, so this was in 2011, October 2011. This is when she was shooting Sparkle. And she was in Detroit at the time. And I was going to a hotel down in Detroit, downtown, where we were having a blind convention, a convention for the blind and visually impaired. And she just so happened to be in the hotel that I was in. I had no idea. We were there for a week. I had no idea that she was there. I had heard people saying like, you know, oh, I saw Whitney here and she was on the elevator. And I'm thinking like, y'all just saying this because everybody knows that she's filming Sparkle in Detroit. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, man, come on now. I didn't see her. How come I haven't seen anything? I haven't seen no commotion or anything. So on the last night that I was there at that hotel, we had a talent show. And I sang on the talent show. I can't even remember the song I sung, but I did sing a song. It might have even been a Whitney Houston song because, you know, I am a Whitney fan. So it's very possible that it was that or it was a gospel song. I don't know. But all I know is one of the people who worked there at the hotel after the talent show was over, she walked up to me and was like, you know, Whitney Houston is at this hotel. You should really try to meet her. And I was like, what? I have been hearing that people were saying that she was here, but I had, all this time I've been here, I haven't seen her. I haven't seen no commotion that looked like anything was going on. So once someone who works at the hotel told me that, I took it seriously. And I'm like, okay, before I leave this hotel tomorrow, because it was my last night, before I leave, I'm going to find Whitney Houston. Like, that was it. It didn't matter. I didn't care if I didn't care how I was going to get home. If I missed my ride home, oh well, I'm in Detroit. My whole family lives out here, so I'll be fine. Somebody will come get me. So that night, I had started going to different floors. I found out where all the suites were on in the hotel. They were on one floor because it was a small hotel. It didn't even have a swimming pool. So I went to the floor where all the suites were because I'm like, she's got to have a suite. There's no way she has a regular hotel room. Like, it's got to be something. So I went on that floor. I would walk around a little bit, didn't see anything. And I would just take my rounds throughout the night. Like, she got to be somewhere because it wasn't a big hotel. So it's like, I should run into her somehow. It didn't happen that night. So when I woke up the next morning, we were all supposed to eat breakfast and, you know, meet up and everybody say their goodbyes and everybody go home. So I went to breakfast, hurried up, ate my breakfast, and then, well, before then, I remember when I got dressed for the day, I looked in the mirror and I said, Santina, you are going to meet Whitney Houston today. You're going to find her today. And I meant that to myself. I was looking myself dead in my eye in the mirror, and I didn't care what it took. As long as I knew she was staying in that hotel, I wasn't going home. So I went to breakfast, ate my breakfast. Oh yeah, okay, I love you guys. See you next time. Bye-bye or whatever. And I helped some people, you know, get ready to get home and things, because I was like, since I've been legally blind all of my life, I was able to help some of the new visually impaired and blind people. So that's pretty much what I was doing while I was there. So other than that, I wouldn't even went to breakfast. I would have just been like, forget breakfast, forget all of this. I'm going to look for Whitney. But I knew I had to help other people, so I went to breakfast. And then after that, I'm like, all right, see you guys later. And then I'm walking around the hotel. So I'm walking around, going from floor to floor. Next thing you know, I did see somebody with a whole rack of clothes. And so I'm like, I wonder if that's Whitney's stuff. You know what I'm saying? So I'm listening in. I'm trying to see what conversations I can hear. And then I heard someone that, you know, she was pushing the rack of clothes, and she was like, oh, yes, ma'am, I have your wardrobe now. I'm getting ready to take it to your room now. Yes, your room is clean and it's ready. She was talking to somebody on the phone. And I'm like, oh, maybe that's Whitney. Or it could have been Jordan Sparks, too, because, you know, she's in the movie, too. So they could have been staying at the same hotel. So I didn't know which one it was, but I was going to find somebody. So I listened to her. She's like, I'm on my way up to your room now. And so I was like, okay, I'm just going to stay down here, because whoever, if it's Whitney or if it's Jordan Sparks, they have to come through here. Like, they have to come through the lobby to get to the elevator, whether it's the private elevator or whether it's the regular elevator, whatever. I have to see them come in the door. So I stays down there. I'm like, okay. So it was about time for my ride to come. My phone was dying and everything. And I'm like, man. So I called my ride and I let them know, like, I'm going to need a little bit more time because I am on the lookout for Whitney Houston. I'm not leaving this hotel until I find her. Now, this person knew that I was a diehard Whitney Houston fan, so they understood. So they're like, okay, well, just let me know when you're ready. I'm going to go over such and such's house and chill over there. And then when you're ready, I'll come and get you. So everything worked out on my ride situation. So first of all, this is what happened. First, when the woman went upstairs with the rack of clothes, I went upstairs on the elevator too. And when I got up there, I saw her going down, because I already knew, I'm like, she had to stay on the floor with the suites, because, you know, so I went on the floor of the suite, and I saw the woman with the rack of clothes going towards a room. So she put the stuff in the room, and then she left out. She closed the door. So I called my ride, like, oh my goodness, I think I know where Whitney's room is at, and blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm all excited, like, I know where Whitney Houston's room is at. I'm still not sure if this is Jordan Sparks or Whitney Houston's room. I don't know. So I go back down to the lobby, and I didn't see anything. So I'm waiting because somebody has to come through that door. And it's crazy because I don't know what the lady did with the rack of clothes. I'm not sure if she took them in and put them somewhere or what and left, but I saw her go down the hall, but I didn't just follow directly behind her because I didn't want her to know or think that she was being followed. So I waited. I sat in the lobby and I waited, and then I waited for a while, and I went down to where the room was, and the door was open, and it looked like it was a conference room. So I'm like, okay. So that's when I called my ride and was like, yeah, I think I know where Whitney's room is at, you know, blah, blah, blah. So then I went back downstairs. I'm like, I'm about to go downstairs and wait in the lobby because she's obviously not here yet. So I went down there, and as soon as I went to the lobby, Whitney came walking into the hotel room and walking past me. And I was like, hi. I was so starstruck. I couldn't even say hi loud enough for her to hear me. She was walking past with her assistant. And I didn't even see no bodyguards with her, nothing at that time. I didn't see no, like, she was just there, because they were saying, like, oh yeah, she's just all over the hotel. She's just walking freely by herself, and, you know, you can go up to her and get an autograph or whatever. And I'm like, huh, Whitney? Like, no way she's not walking with a bodyguard or two or something. But, you know, she was just like that. She loved people. You know, she was a very upbeat person, very nice, you know, down to earth. So she was happy to be able to go and, you know, at least mingle a little bit by herself without having people surrounding her or security surrounding her. The hotel was small. It was very small. So it wasn't like it was hard to find her, but I was just surprised that I never saw her that whole week I was there. So anyway, she comes in and I'm like, hi. And she didn't hear me. So she gets on the elevator, the regular elevator, And I'm like, no, I don't really want to crowd her. I'm just going to wait and take the next elevator up because I'm like, I know exactly where she's going. That was for her because that must be who the lady was talking to on the phone, right? So I'm like, I'm just going to let her go up and then I'll go up and see if I can catch her there. So I caught the next elevator up and I got off the elevator. And oh, I forgot to tell you. So I had, I'm an artist. I'm a record, I write music and record and everything like that, and I sing. Of course, I sing. You guys already know. And I had my first CD I made, and it was a pop CD. And I had this song called "Ain't No Stopping," and it was a new song that I had just wrote, and I wanted to, since I was in Detroit, you know what I'm saying, I wanted to take it with me so I can let people hear it and see how they like it and see what they thought about the song, just get people's feedback. So I had my little radio with me with my CD, because this is CD time, 2011. We still had CDs going around. So I had let a few people hear it. Some of my friends had came to the hotel where I was staying at so they could hear my music and hang out with me and stuff like that, because I was living in Monroe, but I came to Detroit for this convention. So I already had my radio with me, my CD, and I'm like, I wonder if Whitney will hear my music. But I was more excited just to meet her, even if she didn't hear my songs. So I get up on the floor, and I see a man sitting, in the chairs at the elevator. So I know he had to see this woman. He had to see her because she just got off the elevator before I did. So I'm like, Did Whitney Houston happen to come past here? Did you see her? And he was like, oh yeah, she's floating around here somewhere. And I was like, do you know where she went? He said, yeah. And I was like, what, Whitney or something? Because the way he was just like, oh yeah, she's floating around. I'm like, you didn't even sound like you just met a star. You just sounded all nonchalant about it. So I'm like, do you know Whitney? And he was like, yeah, I'm her personal bodyguard. And I'm like, oh, her personal bodyguard. So I sat there and talked with him for a minute. I told him a little bit about my singing journey. I told him about how big of a fan I was of Whitney's. And we were there talking for a good 5 or 10 minutes. And then he was like, well, when she comes out, I'll introduce you to her. And I was like, oh, for real? You would do that for me? And I had my radio with me, so I put my CD in and I let him hear my song too. I let him hear my song. So he was like, man, they would love your music over in Europe. You should get your stuff over to Europe. And I'm like, oh, wow, thank you. I really appreciate your input, because that's what I really wanted from people, just to see what they thought about the song. So Whitney, while we're in the middle of talking, right after I got done playing my song, Whitney comes out of her room and she's walking towards the elevator, and I'm thinking in my mind like, oh my God. And I was like, is that Whitney right there? He was like, yep, that's her. I'm like, oh my God. On the inside, I'm screaming, flipping, jumping. Like, I couldn't believe I was about to have my own personal meet and greet. Nobody else was there. It was just me and the bodyguard, and then her and her assistant. So she walks up, and she's like, hey, Ray. And then he's like, hey. He was like, this is Santina right here. She's a very big fan of yours, and she just wanted to meet you and wanted to know if you wanted to listen to some of her music or listen to one of her songs. And I was like, oh, you just don't know who you are to me. And she was like, oh, thank you. God bless you. I was like, oh. He was like, she wants you to hear one of her songs. So I pressed play on there, and she listened for a few seconds because she was waiting for the elevator. So I'm like, okay, let me hear her press play. I pressed play. She listened to it, and she was like, oh, that sounds really good. You should get your stuff to Europe. They would really like your music over there. Same thing that Ray said, right? So I'm like, oh, thank you so much. Thank you. And I'm so happy to meet you and blah, blah. I mean, she was really down to earth and herself, and everything was like, she just looked so beautiful, and she was very nice, and she didn't mind meeting me. She wasn't rushing me, or she didn't act like she don't really have time for this. She was just sitting there waiting for the elevator talking to me. I'm like, oh my gosh, I will never forget that. And then, so I was so excited, I couldn't even get on the elevator with them to go downstairs because I had to take a praise break. Once that elevator door shut, I'm jumping up and down, running up and down the hallway. I wasn't screaming because I was in a hotel, but I'm like, yes, I can't believe I met Whitney Houston. And that's been my dream since I was little. Ever since I fell in love with Whitney Houston, the singer, man, it was my dream it's always been my dream to meet her. So I'm so happy that I was able to meet Whitney Houston. God made that happen for me because that had been my prayer ever since I was a little girl in the 1980s. Like, I've got to meet Whitney Houston. And God made it happen. He remembered my prayer. Like, he remembered my wish, my prayer, whatever you want to call it back then. But I'm telling you, so when they got on the elevator, the bodyguard had told me, he said, well, meet me downstairs in the lobby and we can exchange information. And then that way you can send me your music and we can listen to it and, you know, see what happens from there. And I'm like, oh man, like, that had me jumping up and down too, because it wasn't like it was over because I met her and then she disappeared. No, he told me to meet him down in the lobby. So after I did my little praise break, I jumped on the elevator, went downstairs to the lobby. He was waiting for me and we exchanged information. And from that point on, I was sending him my music. And the wonderful thing about Ray is I really thought that, you know, he would be a very busy person. I probably might talk to him once, if that, you know what I'm saying? But no, this man, he's just as down to earth. If I call him, if he's not available, he will send me a text message. Hey, let me call you back. He calls me back every single time. And I send him my music. He tells me what he thinks about it. I went back and met him once again in Detroit. And I thought I was going to meet Whitney too there, but I guess he said she was still up in her room and she wasn't ready to come down. So it was just us, me and him, and the person who drove me there. So from that point on, though, me and Ray have been friends. We are still friends today. And this was back in 2011, and it is 2022 right now. I'm getting ready to go into 2023. So we've been friends ever since then. We've been, you know, like he became one of my best friends. Like, if I call him right now, he will answer the phone. If I call him and he can't answer, he will send me a text message and he will call me back. Like, that is truly my friend. So only reason why I'm very thankful because he shares, you know, since we've been friends even after Whitney died. Like, when she died, he was the first person I called just to confirm that it was true. And when he didn't answer the phone and when he didn't text me, I knew it was true. Like, because he never ignores my phone calls or anything like that. So when she died, it really hit him really hard. But I was there for him. Like, when they were getting ready to go to the funeral, I called him and just, you know, said a little prayer for him and, you know, just checked in on him. But he's been doing really good. We still talk about Whitney all the time. Like, I just love to sit and listen to his stories of, you know, maybe trips that they've taken or how close him and Whitney was. Like, he was truly like a brother to her. That was her brother-in-law, but it was like they were brother and sister. Seriously, she trusted him with everything. So I love just hearing his stories today. But yes, that is my Whitney Houston moment, and I'm happy to say that I have gained a lifelong friend out of her personal bodyguard. From that, even this shirt that I have on right here, he gave this shirt to me. He gave this to me. And I have a few other little things that I've gotten from him, you know, as little tokens of, because he knows how much of a Whitney Houston fan I am. So, you know, he looks out. He looks out a lot. If there's anything that, oh yeah, I got this. I had got this, you know, when I went to, when me and Whitney went somewhere and I wore this was my bodyguard badge. Like, I got one of those where, you know, he had to wear his little, you know, the little badge that they have on with their name and everything on there to show that they're supposed to be around the the star or the artist or whatever. He gave me that one time. I think that was probably from 2012. I mean 2000. I'm not sure. I can't remember what year it is, but I definitely have it. And you know, I'm happy to say that he is a true friend to me. And I'm happy to say that I have had a moment to see Whitney and just tell her, oh, you don't know how much you mean to me, or you don't know what you mean to me, and all of that. Like, that was my star moment. I didn't go crazy or anything like that, but I'll cherish it forever, and I'm thankful. You know what I'm saying? I'm thankful that I do have someone that I can talk to and still hear a lot about Whitney from. I can hear anything I want to know about Whitney. I can ask this man. Like, I don't never go too much into her personal business, but I will ask, like, okay, well, when y'all went to this show, how was it? Or how is it when, you know, people are trying to take pictures with her? Or what happened? You know, he'll tell me some stories. You know, he'll tell me some really good stories. But I never try to get too deep. I don't want to know all of her personal business or anything like that. You know, I don't have no juicy gossip or juicy nothing like that, because I respect his privacy. I respect Whitney's privacy. And I just don't go all into that. But yes, I'm very thankful that I do have a lifelong friend in Whitney Houston's bodyguard, and he's an amazing person, and I truly do love him. So that's my Whitney moment, plus my review on the movie. It was good. If you haven't gone to see it, go see it if you can, whenever you can. And I also did a video on you know, just a little video about my journey of today, me and my best friend, and pictures of my shirt and stuff like that. So if you want to see the rest of that, that's coming on after this. So I thank you guys for your time. I thank you guys for listening to my video, and I truly appreciate all of my followers and subscribers. If you have not followed our page, I Married My Best Friend, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, comment, and don't forget to click that notification bell so that you will get notifications whenever we go live or whenever we post a video. All right, you guys, so I love you so much. Thank you so much for allowing me to share this with you. And if you have had any encounters with Whitney Houston, if you were able to meet her or whatever, you had some kind of something, anything, she said something to you, she looked at you, you were at this concert and this happened, whatever, if you got some stories to share, drop them in the comments. I would love to hear them. And I'm sure others who watch this video would love to hear it too. And if you went to the movie, make sure to put in the comments how you felt about it, or if you will watch it again, or whatever you want people to know. All right, guys, so thank you so much for watching this video. I love you, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.